Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 28th, and right now I am in Mountain View, Hawaii, and I'm planning to go back out and hike out towards the volcano. You might have seen some of my pictures yesterday. It was fountaining a fairly decent amount. Looks like it's still doing so this morning, so I'm going to go check it out yet again. But let's take a look at what is to come here across Pacific Northwest, because I can see all the rainfall that is incoming here. And if you look out there, you can see the colder air aloft, some cold air cumulus back there. And I've got the Doppler radars overlaid here as well. We've got some pretty significant rainfall here coming for portions of southwest Oregon. And you can see some of the showery activity up here across from the Puget Sound also. And we're going to dive into a bunch of stuff to here today. But first thing I want to point out, this is the Tempest that my father-in-law uses, and you can see that we're right near Mountain View, Hawaii. But yeah, I'm very impressed with this station. It really it made a good impression on me watching this last storm from my house. And this is the weather station out here in Mountain View. You can see it's 74 degrees, but the wind just updates so nicely, and the app works really well with the smartphone. So I'm going to put this on top of my huge tower at my home when I get back. But taking a look here across the region, we have winter weather advisories. We got the high surf advisories up and down the coastline, some energetic waves. We got some hydrologic outlooks. We got winter storm watches in effect as well. And if you see, if we go down towards Portland, again, some of that rainfall could be starting to cause some issues. I'll also talk a little bit here towards the end of the video about landslide potential here across the Puget Sound, which of course is going to be apparent for a lot of the Willamette Valley as well. As you guys know, our terrain is pretty complex, and some of those hillsides start moving in the winter months when you start to put a lot of precipitation on them. We got avalanche warnings in effect out there as well. We'll dive into that in a little bit more detail here. Also, Spokane National Weather Service updated here this morning. You can see we're going to have some challenging travel over the mountain passes over the next couple of days here, and we'll go over some of that a bit here more in a moment. This is Pendleton. Look at Snoqualmie Pass, 12 to 18. Sunday through Monday morning coming up here. So Cascades 2,500 feet plus. So that's going to include I-90 at times. You can see some of the Blue Mountains there. Not much for the lower terrain, but the higher terrain getting a pretty good dose of snowfall. And there's some winter storm activity here across western Montana. Again, mainly the higher terrain, but you got to watch out across the higher pass, lookout pass there for I-90, for example, and some of the higher terrain of the Idaho Panhandle in western Montana. So taking a wider look, this is North America, and you can see Washington is right there. You can see some very cold air there on the north slopes of the Alaska. This is at 5,000 feet, temperature anomaly. So if I put this into motion, you'll notice this is the westerlies here and some of the cold air behind these frontal systems moving into the Pacific Northwest. I want to point something out. If you notice across some of BC there, you can see some Arctic air, Alberta and BC, try to get in place here. And strangely enough, this colder air out here is kind of from the same source, well back up across some portions of Russia and north of Japan out there, let's just say. And this one takes a track down here and it kind of settles over areas again, kind of central BC here in Alberta. This one takes the long track across Pacific Ocean, and when it does so, it moderates, and it just kind of generates a mid-latitude cyclone back into the region. And you see this Arctic air not really making much headway down into the lower elevations of southwest BC, western Washington, or western Oregon at this time. And then you can kind of see it slide down the Rockies, down across some of the lower 48, and then look at all this warm air kind of flood up and across Alaska, ridge building there. But you notice in the back door of that, you can get some northerly flow, and some cold air tries to sneak in the back door there for eastern portions especially. It's going to run into the Cascades. How much of that will get through? It doesn't look like too much, but that could bring some gorge winds with it as well. When you get the cold air on the other side, that does a pretty good cross Cascade gradient. You can get some gusty winds through the gorge. But yeah, look at all that warm air that rushes up across some of northwest Canada, and that cold air that kind of backdoors us and then gets out of here. And towards the end of the run, you can see all the warm air all the way up across Alaska. So taking a look at about 925, this is closer to the surface. So I want to show you something here. So if we scroll ahead, and you can see that colder air set up across British Columbia there, and you notice this colder air that moves across the Pacific Ocean. Again, this is Arctic air, but just a long track well out over the Pacific Ocean. It modifies before it gets to the Pacific Northwest, but that can mean some nice mountain snows. But look at that colder air just bottled up to the north, and you can really see the Rocky Mountain terrain featured there. Now, a wider view of the Pacific Ocean, Hawaiian Islands would be bottom left. There's a Washington State and BC here, and you can see the precipitation ongoing here for the next couple of days. You can see the precipitation really enhanced here across a lot of southwest Oregon, and then we get a little bit of a break there as we go through the day Monday. There's Tuesday morning, then another system arrives here Tuesday night, and then you can see we kind of keep this steady southwest flow here across the region. We'll continue to watch this because you can see the pressure gradient tighten as we go through the upcoming week with precipitation continuing. Another weak system next weekend, and then another one after that. And then that's when the ridge starts building. We may get some colder air trying to get in through the back door here, back into the Pacific Northwest. We'll watch that as we go through the extended forecast as well. But you can see we do dry out for a bit, although we're looking way off into the forecast. Now, if we look at total precipitation, I'm just going to scroll through this relatively quickly. You can see who is favored here across portions of Oregon, and there's Seattle by the time we go towards Tuesday morning. But then the next system will be rolling in here as we go through the midweek period, and you can kind of see the precipitation continuing off and on as we go on into the 10-day period. Now, day one excessive rainfall outlook, there is some chance for some flooding here, as you can see across southwest Oregon. They've got a pretty good discussion down there as well. And some of that does go up into the Willamette Valley a bit. And then there's day two, that's slight still for Northern California, southwest Oregon. Now, this is the landslide potential I talked about. You can see Tacoma narrow. Seattle-Tacoma is actually to the right of the red line here. So we've gotten enough precipitation here over the 3 and the 15-day period where we have to start to worry about landslide potential there across some of the region. And that will definitely be the case for some of the Willamette Valley as well. Southwest BC, not out of the question also. Now, looking at total snow, I just want to run through this. Here we go as the storm system rolls in through Sunday into Monday. You can see we're getting a nice shot of snow here for the Cascades. Nice coating there for the Olympic Mountains. And then we scroll off in towards next week. More rounds of snowfall there as well. So, yeah, we're going to get a couple decent rounds here coming up. And as you guys saw, Sunday morning through Monday morning, Snoqualmie Pass could be getting up over a foot. And, of course, higher amounts for the higher passes. And avalanche.org, before you go off in the backcountry, this is a great one to check. You see the flashing red? That means avalanche warning is in effect for these areas, Idaho, Panhandle, some of western Montana. And you can see there is some high across the Cascades. Also, 15-day precipitation anomaly in the artificial intelligence as of 12Z, still clearly favoring the Pacific Northwest with above average, and look at leaving California out with some below average precipitation totals. And we'll take a look at this just since we have been recently. This is going on into the new year. And what we had been watching is a chance for some Arctic air to try to get down to the region. But this last run here didn't really show too much of it. A couple interesting systems there moving across the region, a little bit chillier, but not really any sign of Arctic air in this one. I mean, once you're looking way out towards the end of January, something might develop. Who knows about that? But I don't want to really talk about that too much. That's purely looking at tea leaves. Channel's doing good here. Yeah, we're up over 91,360 subscribers. So yeah, click like and subscribe. It looks like the view ratio to actual subscribers is actually really good for this channel compared to a lot of other channels. So grateful for that. It's right around 50%. Apparently a lot of channels are much lower percentage of actual viewers versus subscribers. So I appreciate that. Now taking a look at the drought monitor, and look at this, there's only a little bit of drought across Washington and Oregon, and there's some good news on that as well. We're probably going to even improve that a bit. You can see, look at drought removal likely for all of Washington state as we go through, the month of December actually. So that could be coming up soon, and only a couple areas of drought for Oregon. And I thought I'd show this because I show this a lot during the summertime, but you can see virtually all areas of the Pacific Northwest green, good to go, no fire potential out there. It doesn't mean don't try anything crazy out there, but just kind of showing the contrast between the summer months and the winter months here. Of course, we've got a lot of rain and the temperatures are much cooler and the relative humidities are higher. So last night I went out to Devastation Trail. You can park here, then I hiked way back in here, and that's where I was getting some of my lava shots last night. I'm going to go out and hike around again and see what I can get closer to sunset, so I have a little bit of daylight to work with. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, I will do my normal briefing tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.